Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Square Eye Syndrome podcast. Hope you're all well. I'm Ben Gilman, and once again, I'm joined by Troy Salmon.
Hey guys, how you doing?
And Tom Hill.
All right.
Awesome. So today, as we discussed in the last podcast, once a month we are going to do a special podcast where we just go fully in deep with a show and we just discuss the general overview of the whole series. It has to be finished, and it has to be finished 3 years ago so that we don't accidentally look like idiots when they resurrect it for no reason.
Exactly.
So today we are decided that the first one should be a favorite of ours personally, although there would be some things that we would disagree on. It is Being Human, the UK version, not the shitty US one. We're going to move on now. That's the last.
Oh come on, man, come on.
No, we don't hate America. It's just we didn't do a good job with this one. But anyway, we move on. It is a BBC Free show. It's basically a show about a vampire, a ghost, and a werewolf flat sharing in Bristol originally, and then later series moving on to Wales. It's basically a flat share comedy and a horror drama at the same time, and it's basically about supernatural creatures trying to not kill each other in accommodation, and also trying to coexist with human beings in the real life and have a normal life. And it doesn't always go; it never goes well, but that's the beauty of it. It was written by the person that should be more famous, Toby Whithouse. Sorry. He's a fantastic writer. His credits are numerous, but he is whenever you see his name on an episode, it's a pretty good time. What do you guys think of him as a writer?
Hey, go on, Tom. I'll say you go first.
Well, yeah, no, Being Human's an amazing series, and to do something close to your heart, Ben, he was one of the main writers for the Peter Capaldi incarnation of Doctor Who, and that was one of the best written characters there ever has been in terms of Doctor Who. So
yes,
yeah, he's an amazing writer with a real skill to make it relevant, even when he's dealing with things that are completely unreal.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, he's creating that Noughts and Crosses, that new show as well. You helped write that as well.
Is that him?
Yeah, it's him.
Oh wow, I haven't actually watched it, but I will do now.
Yeah. And what's the other guy that wrote? You know the guy who wrote Misfits. He's writing his Dark Materials.
Yeah.
I had to watch that. I forgot about it.
What's his name? It's going to drive me nuts. But you know what? That's another guy that always turns up regularly on TV. And when you see their names, he's also written for Doctor Who. They're bloody good writers. Horn something. I think it's Jack Horn. It might be something.
James,
like
do you mean James Horn?
James, yeah, it's top. I think it's that.
He turns up on a lot of shows. He's bloody good as well. But anyway, we're not talking about his Dark Materials. We might do that in a couple of years. Lads, we need to keep on track. We're going to be.
Hey, we're just saying his work. We're saying his work, Ben. Let's go. Let's do it.
So, I also, by the way, we've had feedback on the Doctor Who mentions. We'll try again next week. Yay.
It's going to happen at some point.
That's why I avoided mentioning Doctor Who.
Yeah, but you had to when you're talking about Paul.
I know, but
you can't avoid it.
Yeah, exactly.
Feedback, I just let it bounce off of me like mental armor. Right, anyway. So the background is it started in 2000. So the pilot was 2007. It was broadcast on the 18th of February 2000. And basically, Tom and Troy remember more than I do. But it does have one of the original cast, Russell Tovey, who plays George, who's a vampire.
He's a werewolf.
A werewolf.
About to say, I was like, yeah.
We're just going to keep on going. I can't.
Just keep going.
Yes. So Guy Flanagan was Mitchell the vampire in the pilot. Andrea Riseborough was Annie, and she was a much better one than the original. But I'm not going to get into that. And Russell Tovey is George, who's a werewolf. Adrian Lester was Harrick, the vampire leader, the main antagonist of series 1. Yeah. Lovely. What do you guys remember about the pilot episode? Because very hazy. I came in with season 1.
To be honest, I'm kind of hazy on it. I think Tom probably is no more than me, to be fair, but I kind of got into it like literally after that. But
yeah, sure.
Go on, Tom.
So the pilot episode is pretty similar to the actual first episode they did. They kind of redid and took quite a few bits from the pilot for the first episode of the real series.
Ah, okay.
But because basically it's setting up the characters and why they work in hospitals, like the same kind of things that they did through the series, but it was a more concentrated version of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Andrea Riseborough, like you say, she was amazing as the ghost because she brought real kind of different emotions to it. You could believe that she would be a poltergeist at some points and not at others, and there was a real depth of character there. And she was fantastic.
Yeah, she's amazing anyway. As actress, she's amazing.
Yeah. Guy Flanagan, he was all right, but I think they made a very good choice in changing to Aidan Turner in the end. So
yeah,
because I think he's brilliant as Mitchell. I can't imagine anyone else really playing that role.
You can't, can you really? I mean, the original actor was very emo. I remember thinking he was a bit too emo, or Adrian Lester has more of a... How do you say it? He's more...
Aidan Turner's got that...
Turner, yeah, sorry.
That swag about him.
But Aidan Turner has more of a bit of a funny personality as well. So
he was less of a cliche.
Exactly, yeah.
Adrian Lester was Harrick in a pilot. Bloody Adrian, 2 Adrians. No wonder I got confused.
The problem with Adrian Lester, brilliant though he is, and I absolutely love Adrian Lester.
Jason Watkins, mate, one of the underrated British actors.
Jason Watkins is one of the best actors in the world, in my opinion.
Everything. He could turn up and make Coronation Street must-view television. Man,
he started in EastEnders, so
yeah, he's an EastEnder. Yeah,
okay. I'm gonna go find that on YouTube later. I have to see this.
But I actually saw him when I was at school. I saw him in A Servant to Two Masters, which he was nominated for an Olivier Award for, and he was absolutely amazing. Yeah, and I've kept an eye on his career ever since, and I've seen him on stage 4 or 5 different times, and he is brilliant. He is absolutely brilliant, and I just love the fact that he was given the role as in being him. The thing with Adrian Lester's Herrick. And like I say, I think Adrian Lester is an amazing actor. It was, once again, I'm going to use the word cliched again. Even though he brought kind of depth to it, he was very dark and very I'm a vampire kind of character. Whereas Herrick, he's the kind of guy you wouldn't look twice at as a policeman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of that character.
Jason Watkins has a weird face.
He has a weird face, but you wouldn't look twice at him.
Yeah, that's
the way Adrian Lester looked. He was in a dark suit. He was he was being kind of ominous. He was being what you would imagine a vampire leader would be.
He exuded mystery. Yeah,
he can get on with the job undercover, and that's the thing with the vampire swap over Mitchell. I just feel like Adrian Turner's got more of a natural look about him when he's not trying too hard. Where the other guy. Just look at me, I'm emo, My Chemical Romance, baby boy.
My Chemical Romance.
Is that a thing anymore? I don't know. But also, like Phil Davis later seasons, we'll get to that. But like these two guys are... Jason Watkins just appears in everything and makes it instantly better.
I would totally agree with that.
I mean, Midsummer Murders is pretty shit, but he's turned up in that a few times and he's proper good. Proper good actor.
The early Midsummer's was okay, but these recent ones are kind of eh.
No, but you know what I mean? He turns up and he can make a mediocre episode.
Yeah.
Not bad.
I don't understand Midsummer Murders.
You never got it?
Why would anyone
Why would you ever live there?
Yeah.
The amount of deaths, the amount of murders.
There's more deaths there than there are in the Middle East, bruv. What the hell? Like,
I mean, Ben, you and I have both moved houses quite a few times. Have you ever looked at an area and go, what's the murder rate like? Oh, it's high. Great.
It makes Norwood look like a sunny paradise, Midsummer Murders. I'm telling you right now.
Yep.
Anyway, so what do you think of the pilot? No, that's okay. It's cool. It's good
Well,
to.
No. Sorry.
The thing about the pilot was that essentially Toby Whithouse was told that it was going to be a one-off thing.
Yeah, I
He
remember
did
that.
it as a pilot. He was told, even when they were filming it, he was told that, you know what, we've decided not to pick this up as a full series, but we will show the one episode. So he kind of tried to close things off and not make it too big, like a one-off story thing.
Yeah.
Which is why it is different to the first episode, but it's kind of like a mini one story thing of just them getting used to being what they are, and then it stops. So it felt quite unfinished.
It felt like a short,
then,
innit, almost.
Yeah, but they weren't allowed longer than like the half hour. So he did the best he could with what he had, basically.
And what do you think of Russell Tovey? Or are we going to hold on to that for the season?
Russell...
Yeah, we're going to season. I'm triggering you. I know.
God, don't get me. He kind of got me off it a little bit. Russell Tovey, I was like, his portrayal as well. It just got my nerves after a while. I don't know.
I love Russell Tovey as George from Being Human.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I've seen him in many things, and he's always playing George from Being Human.
He's in Legend of Tomorrow as well. Have you seen that CW show? He's a character. He's the same character, literally the same guy.
Yeah. Even in, and I know I shouldn't be mentioning this, Sherlock. It's basically Ben in the Baskervilles episode. It's basically him just being George again.
And he does play the same one in The Job, like Him and Her. He's Gavin Stacey. I could just go through the list.
On and on. Yeah, exactly.
He's a great actor, but it's a one-note performance. And he
also, he was in what was it? Quantico. He was in that. He was kind of different in there. He was kind of more edgy in there. That's the only thing I've ever seen him edgy in.
Yeah. What I'm saying though is, unlike some actors, though, he's a good actor. He's just a one-note actor. I've never not enjoyed. And there's years and years, which is the Russell T Davies one from last year about the future of how it all fucked. That was some harrowing shit. But like, it's I like. I've some people like. I know Tom. You think that he's overrated a bit.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah, what's Tom saying? Go on, Tom.
Overrated is maybe slightly harsh. What I would say is, if his career had just been Being Human, I would think he was one of the greatest actors of all time. But he'd stopped after Being Human. If something had happened that meant that he quit acting, I'd consider him a great actor. The problem is, he's like you say, he's a one-note actor.
I did like him shrieking like a little girl. That's the one bit of the character where it's like high pitched, only dogs can hear. Where he's trying to make us deaf.
Every now and then, that's fine, but he does it too much.
Yeah, near the end of season 3, I was kind of glad that he was leaving at the start of season 4 because it's like a kettle.
Yeah, but nobody knew he was leaving at the start of season 4 because the woman who played Nina announced she was leaving. Obviously, we'll get into this, but Aidan Turner left.
Oh yeah.
But Russell Tovey, when he was interviewed, actually said, "Oh no, I'm in season 4."
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he said it. Yeah, I remember saying
that. But he didn't say that he was only in one episode of season 4. But still.
And he's in the promotion pictures of the other people that would soon be.
Exactly. No, because people were worried about them changing the whole cast over, like in a oneer. They had to convince people because Russell Tovey, basically in popularity terms, it went Aidan Turner, Russell Tovey. And keep forgetting the name of the lady who played.
I can count the amount of people that I've spoken to the show about and gone, Annie! Nobody. So
they needed, in order to get the people who'd watched the first 3 series to come back, they had to convince people that Russell Tovey was going to be there. Basically.
Just scammed them real quick.
I would love to hear a book about Being Human's development from Toby Whithouse.
Well, I can tell you some of its development.
Go on.
Well,
like that pace it because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's just try and get.
This is more. One thing I was going to say anyway about one of the reasons why these characters work, and we'll get into it, is because the fact that they're a werewolf and a vampire and a ghost is almost incidental.
That's
in
why.
a weird way.
Yeah.
Because what happened was originally Toby Whitehouse started writing a comedy about three people living together.
Yeah.
And the first version he wrote of it was Annie, George, and Mitchell. And Annie was an agoraphobic.
Yeah, she was.
George had OCD
Mm.
and was really mild mannered, but then would go into unbelievable rages.
Mm.
And Mitchell was a sex addict. That was the three original characters.
Mm.
And so they wrote with that in mind, but then they just couldn't find what they thought would make it interesting. And then at the last meeting, when they were about to give up on it, Toby Whithouse just said to everyone else, well, how about we just make George a werewolf? And it grew from there that the sex addict became the vampire, which is why the whole vampirism thing for Mitchell is almost like a sex addict. He just can't get away from it.
Exactly.
And the ghost is very much like an agoraphobic.
Yeah.
So it plays into real human emotions, then made into supernatural things.
Yeah,
That's why it works, because it's actually not about the supernatural creature they are. It's closer to something that people can actually...
Yeah.
Can actually... I can't think what the word... sympathise with, empathise with.
Mm.
The original three... the one thing that they've done really well with Adrian, the thing is, from my perspective, my personal history, I'm kind of sick of vampires. So I did Buffy, Angel Spike, good vampires, and then we come to this. And this is before everybody did bloody vampires, left, right, and centre, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
So it felt at the time, you do this now, people would just kind of chuckle and go, oh, ever vampires, battling his demons. It's been done. But like you said, Russell Tovey, Adrian Turner, and the lady that plays the ghost, Annie Leona Chiklo, who they all got that sympathy where they feel like real people, like you said. They just happen to incidentally be supernatural as well.
Yeah,
and it's not always overplayed. And I love that show. It feels
Can I say one thing in Lenora Critchlow's defense?
Go.
She's actually a bloody good actress.
No, she is. That's what I'm saying. She's actually a good actress. That's what I'm saying. She is. I've seen her in other stuff as well. She's really good.
I've got
the first thing I ever saw her in was Sugar Rush. I don't know if you ever saw that.
I forgot about that. Sugar Rush. Oh my god.
But she was amazing in that. And
Yeah,
the
she was.
opposite of.
She was really downplayed, to be honest. Yeah, she was downplayed in the show.
Well, I feel like the White Bear episode from Black Mirror is my revenge for Annie being a horrible. Just a funny character. It's funny to imagine that that's her nightmare. Some fans have done it. If that hate Annie is like, oh yeah, White Bear is totally where she went after she shut the door. That's her punishment for being an annoying character.
Oh my god.
That's my joke. I've done one. So the first season has the very amazing. It builds up really well, and this is the one thing that I love about this show. It always built cliffhangers really well. Consequences. Mitchell killing people. That comes back to bite him.
Yeah.
They try so hard to be normal. This isn't the end of the world. It's just a small town in Bristol that they're trying to save, and. They don't overuse Ian Watkins too much.
Jason Watkins.
Yeah. They just have him slowly building it. And then, George, is it season 1 or 2? It's season 2 where you find out she's a werewolf. Is it?
You see at the end of season 1 that she gets
something like a teaser at the end of 1.
But it sets it up so masterfully. And the really sad music they have at the beginning of every episode? I think it sets it up really well, the violin.
Oh, yeah.
Because it just feels...
Yeah.
It feels
I quite like the voiceover that comes with that. There's always a voiceover that's not quite about what the episode's about, but just describing the torments.
Just describing, solid.
Time.
It's a little thing, and I like the fact that it just reminds you of where you stand. And just how epic it is. And I just feel like the first season is more funny because it gets much bigger as each season rolls on. They have to up it.
Yeah. I'll get onto some of the incongruities of season 3 in a minute, but let's stick with season 1 for now.
Yeah, let's just go on to that point. Yeah, season one's more self-contained.
Season 1 is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, but it's amazing.
Stuff for season 2. I mean, the one thing I do like is the ghosts as well. Is like it. They build it up over 5 years. Like the man with the rope. Like you never see who it is behind the door for a long time, and they build it up.
Yeah,
they build it up, and it's always there in the background.
But
So with Annie's first season is about her getting over the death of her ex-fiance.
The murder of her
the hands of her ex-fiance. And he's a bit of a dick from the word go, really, to be fair.
But that's the thing. That character is absolutely brilliant because actually, even though Herrick is probably supposed to be the main bad guy, you kind of find yourself hating Owen the most.
That's what I'm saying, exactly. Yeah.
Herrick, you kind of understand why he does the things he does to a degree. He's a dick, but you understand because you understand the torment that Mitchell goes through. You understand that Herrick has just accepted he doesn't want to go through that torment, so he's going to just embrace being the bad guy. Whereas this guy Owen genuinely thinks he can get away with it, and he's actually a nastier character.
I mean, it keeps your sympathies for Annie very good the first season because you really can't hate someone that much. There's problems.
The moment when so go on.
It hurts her more in season 2 and 3 because then she doesn't have the Owen thing to play off, and then she's just annoying. But season 1, Owen is so hateable, and his girlfriend is also hateable.
I don't think she is hateable. She's
I won't say hateable. I won't say that. Go that far, but.
Well, for me, she's got an Essex accent, so that's
straight up.
I'd burn that whole place down if I could. But anyway,
that's your own issue, man.
Yeah, that's your own.
It's my issue. But basically, she makes it's like
hang on a second. Aren't you a Buddhist?
I am a Buddhist.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking, Tom. That's what I'm thinking.
It's called comedy.
You burn the whole of Essex if you're allowed to.
It's called cleansing. No, I'm joking.
Oh, jeez. This took a turn, didn't it? It took a turn.
But anyway, we got back onto the show.
Anyway.
Taking it off, sorry. But I feel like Anne's story is the biggest one of season 1. It's self-contained, like Troy said. It's very satisfying, and it sets it up for more to come season 2.
Well, I'd say that all of them have very clear stories in season 1, which is why it's such a good season. Because they've all got very, very clear stories. You know where they're going. George, it's about they're all trying to be human, but it's about George finding a relationship and trying to balance the 27 days of the month when he can be a normal boyfriend against the one day of the year where he's a werewolf. And
he's basically a woman, but more like the 4 days of the day. It's like a period thing. If you think about it, the werewolf is like a woman's.
Yeah, it's his time of the month. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good scene between him and Nina in season 2, where they both say we're like women now. It's quite funny.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Anyway, sticking with season 1.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Owen, like you say, gives Annie a real purpose for that series. And the moment is it episode 5, the second to last episode, when they invite him round and all 3 of them are there, and she basically tells Owen, Mitchell's a vampire, George is a werewolf, and I'm a ghost. And then when she becomes kind of almost badass for a minute, it's fantastic. I absolutely love that scene.
It's so strong. Yeah.
It's just cold and it's brilliant, and
the breakout moment.
Well, yeah, it should have been, but then she goes back to being a wuss for the.
Yeah, again, exactly. She goes reverse right back.
So for that moment, for a brief moment, you think, yes, she's become something so much more than what she's been for the first 4 episodes.
Yeah.
But then she goes back to being that again. And it's like, I think that's where the disappointment with that character is there's a moment of brilliant character development that then doesn't get because they can't. They need her to kind of be a weak character at other points in other series, so they have to bring her back to being that.
Yeah, they need that kind of to have that kind of role, that kind of damsel in distress type role.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing for me, because season 1's quite light and breezy, so we can move on to season 2 because.
Well, no. Just hang on to season 1 for one more minute. I mean, there's a couple of absolutely brilliant things in there. I mean, the episode with basically them being accused of being paedophiles.
Oh damn! Yes, I was going to touch on that as well. I forgot.
I cringe at that episode.
That's a great point.
Brilliant. It's great point. So well done.
Oh, it's brilliant. It's and I remember the comedian. My favourite bit is Mitchell. I will give Russell Tovey one thing. He's very good with Adrian Turner in the comedic moments. I remember when they've got all the neighbours there and Adrian Turner's got rubber gloves on. And for some reason, he's just introducing everyone. And George is coming from work. And there's just the whole neighbourhood there. And then that Russell Tovey's got on his face. It's just hilarious. And it's the bit where they keep going in the kitchen to talk whenever somebody comes around.
Yeah.
That first season, they are brilliant about that.
The one thing that they never acknowledge about that kitchen is there's a massive hole in the wall, so everyone.
All the time they're talking, you see the background, just like juxtaposition, that massive hole in the background.
And George has got quite a squeaky voice, so like it's not like they can't hear him.
Yeah.
And also, why does Annie need a bedroom? I've just noticed Annie always has a bedroom.
She also has a bigger bedroom than George.
Exactly.
Why? You're a ghost. You don't need to sleep.
Well, I suppose it was her house before it was theirs. So.
Exactly. It was her house. So some people forget.
What about that other werewolf guy? The guy...
Tully.
Yeah, Tully. Is this season 1 or season 2?
Season 1, episode 2.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah. Early season.
Really funny.
Basically the one who turned George into a werewolf.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen a lot of Russell Tovey's butt cheeks during this run. It's just funny how he reacts to seeing him butt naked. Just one of my favourite scenes. Just because, again, Russell Tovey's a great comedic actor. Just his reaction to be caught naked.
Yeah.
Like, embarrassment.
He is very good at reacting to embarrassing situations.
He is.
I will grant
He's a master at that.
Yeah. But he's not so good at dramatic.
What do you think of the actress who plays Nina?
I love her. She's low-key one of my favourite actors that never really gets talked about. When she turns up again, like Jason Watkins and Phil Davis, they have got a lot of credits to their... The thing is, they've never really anchored themselves in a show as the lead, ever really. But they have made up for it with loads of bit parts all over the place. Like supporting characters. They're just really good at it. Sinead Keenan, and she's brilliant. She's just got she's a really nice actress in real life, but she always plays really confident women. She's much more girlier in interviews that I've seen her, but she's like a really blockbuster. She really does play strong females that are funny.
Unbelievably strong Irish accent.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, damn, is she?
But she doesn't. She's got such a good English accent. It's like David Tennant in Doctor Who. Like, I didn't know he was Scottish until he left. I'm like, he's Scottish. Because his English accent is so good. By the way, go back to listen to Jessica Jones. It's evil. It's evil Doctor. Rose Tyler's dead on that alternative Earth.
The evil Doctor.
It's evil Earth Doctor. Have you heard that theory as well?
Oh yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
To Jessica Jones. Anyway, back to being human.
Cool. I love the way Ben just goes back and forth. I love it.
That's 2 Doctor Who mentions. But I like how small the finale is.
Exactly, yeah.
It feels
season 1?
Dirty. That's where Nina finds out George's... I also, by the way, while we're stuck on season 1, I really love Russell Tovey's George's really shit attempts at chatting women up. I love the one between him and Mitchell. Because Mitchell's just trying to set him up with a girl. He's like his wingman. I love it. They're like a big couple. And Annie's like the motherly figure. I love these first 3 seasons, really. And the great thing about Nina is she just adds to it. And he's just so awkward. They build it up so slowly over the season, and I just love George. George just fumbling around, hating Nina. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, no, it is very good.
And he's so natural with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is my whole point about the thing where you can sympathise and empathise. We all know people, or we are that person who just can't talk to women.
Exactly. Everyone knows that person or is that person. You know what I'm saying? Everyone.
That's me.
We've all been there. We've all been young enough to try and
everyone's done
chat a
it.
girl up when we were younger.
Bro, you've been there.
Go embarrassingly wrong.
Bro, you've seen me in action before I met my wife.
I have. At times I was like, damn, come on, Ben.
Yeah, I've got a big gob on me, and I'm quite easy to talk to other people. But if I like someone, it's very obvious.
That's the thing is that's what shocked me because like, you're so confident in the way you speak. And when you start to the girl, I'm like, damn, it's different, so different.
Because it's obvious when I like girls, and that's the thing that I relate to George a lot. And I want to be I want to be Mitchell, but I end up being George. I'm definitely not Annie, and that's good.
I just want to say one more thing about season 1 before we do move on.
Yeah.
And it's going back to that episode again, you know, the one with where they're being accused of being paedophiles and all that.
Pedophile, yeah.
The weird, it's brilliant because it's one of the most sinister moment of that entire first series is the last words of that episode where, you know, the kid dies, and Mitchell obviously turns him, and they're standing on that train platform.
That sounds like a euphemism. Said that turned him
and Mitchell
around.
What?
Sorry, I'm making jokes. Just ignore me. Keep going.
But you know, they're on that train platform, and Mitchell walks away, and this young boy turns to his mum and says, "Mum, I'm hungry," and that sent a chill down my spine.
That got me. Yeah, that got me too. Oh,
brilliant. There is that is the most simplistic way of emphasizing just how difficult this is going to be, and I loved it. And for me, that's actually the most chilling and sinister moment of the entire series.
Yeah, the entire show. Yeah, exactly. The entire
that one line, and the kid who delivers it perfectly. It's done. It's absolutely beautiful.
And what's the woman's name that Mitchell converts into a vampire? That comes back to bite him in the bottom later on as well. Andrew in season 2 as well. Like, you know, there are consequences, and that's the thing. At the time, they don't seem like that. You know that shit's going to come.
In that one, you know that Mitchell understands the consequences because he doesn't want to do it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that kid got hurt for all the wrong reasons, which is why he basically offers that opportunity.
Yeah.
But you can see that he's offering it, but he doesn't really want to offer it.
But that's the thing. I mean,
but he feels he has to.
We'll talk about it more in the other seasons, but his arc just gets darker and darker, and by the end of season 3, that's the beauty of that arc. It's such a good arc. It's a tragic arc.
But I don't think it is an arc. See, I think it's a full circle because this character was supposed to be an evil bastard before we see him in season 1. We're seeing him trying to be better, but for the large part of the years that he's been a vampire, he's been Herrick's right-hand man.
You always see those great flashbacks that they throw in quite regularly with Mitchell's past.
Yeah.
You almost like he papers over the cracks, isn't it?
You can feel the history.
Yeah.
It reminds you he's a vampire, and I loved it when Angel and Buffy did it. Like the background, it's not always there a lot. They don't play on it too much, just enough for you to know how old Mitchell is. You know?
Yeah. But I mean, the thing is, Mitchell obviously has had a conscience the whole time. But for 90% of the time he's been a vampire, he's got rid of that by feeding and doing the bad things, which is why he is like a living legend. Because I don't know if you remember the character of Seth in the first series.
Yeah.
That really annoying vampire.
Yeah, he was so annoying.
The one who said blood type A is a bit Jacob's Creaky for me, but that's all right.
It's like a and Bill and the crack. Yeah, I remember him.
But he and Mitchell are having a conversation where he asks why they're in Bristol, and Mitchell explains to him it was the first vampire to lead a double life, lived in Bristol, And this guy has no idea about it. And Mitchell says to him, haven't you ever been told this? And the thing he said that made me think, okay, this guy, Mitchell, was actually a real evil shit was, no, all the stories I hear are about you. So this guy, because these characters, these vampires, love to revel in the evil of what they do, and then you hear that Mitchell's the guy they all talk about. So he must have been a real dick.
He's the idol. Yeah.
He must have been vicious at some point if they talk about him in that way and don't talk about their own history. And I thought that did a huge amount to actually develop Mitchell's character. If you're like, okay, actually, this guy has a real dark side that we haven't really touched on yet.
Yeah. You think to yourself, when you're going to see it, when he's going to see his true self, you know what I mean? Yeah.
So season 1 ends with Herrick apparently dead. And that leaves a hole for season 2 until the end of season 2, because he gets resurrected by people that we will talk about.
Yep.
Hold on. But basically, I feel like season 2 does a great job without him still, because they get some really good characters in. So season 2 is still in Bristol.
Yep.
This one is now dealing with all the stuff from season 1. It's darker. Yep. They've all got consequences. Mitchell's behaviour is now the leader of the vampires, because obviously you've got to keep them in check.
It's almost like what happens after the happily ever after is Herrick dies.
Yeah.
And then it's like, what happens after happily ever after? Oh shit, it's not as it's not as perfect as you hoped it was going to be.
Yes, because basically Mitchell's got to keep them all in check to make sure, one, that they behave themselves and they do it responsibly and don't eat people. So he's trying to set them up at the hospital to get blood and stuff to keep them all docile and not attacking people. George is obviously, as we said, Nina is now. We saw in the last moments of season 1 that she has been clawed. So now she's got that. Their relationship is strained.
Because she won't tell him that she's been scratched,
Yeah, there's a great scene. Is it season 2 or 3? Where they're just shouting at each other in the bedroom. I can't remember which one it is.
Season 2.
Yeah, it's still the same season, season 2.
It is one of the best arguments you've ever seen on television. I mean, dear God.
It was amazing. I got to admit, that was really good.
10 minutes of them just being absolute shits to each other.
You know what? The character of Nina always annoyed me. Especially in season 1 she didn't. In season 2, every time she had an argument with George, it felt like we were just waiting for her to say, "You gave me this." Because it's the argument she uses to win every fight.
That's what they always do.
It's kind of like there is no comeback from that. Yes, he did, and he knows he did, and he feels like a shit about it. So it's kind of an unfair. He can't win any fight ever with this woman because she's got the trump card of "you made me a werewolf." So
Annie has now had to find a new purpose in her existence because she solved her problems in season 1 with Owen. What I find funny is she kind of starts to just do random stuff. That's funny. Okay, they found she's the light relief in season 2 until
absolutely, the
end of it, because again it sets up season 3 pretty massively, very touchingly. But we won't speed through. And there's 2 new vampires, Ivan and Daisy, who are basically, and I know Toby Whithouse has been inspired by this, Spike and Drusilla from Buffy. They are very individual on their own, but they are brilliant. And obviously Daisy does a big thing at the end of season 2, but we're not going to skip ahead. But
one thing I do know, I've been rewatching a couple of episodes of Being Human this week.
Yeah, I haven't.
I hadn't realised, and it was my own stupidity. You know how they kind of turn the vampires into an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting thing?
Yeah.
And they get Ivan to be the poster boy.
Yeah.
For it.
Yeah.
I hadn't realised, and it's just a throwaway line. And I think maybe I didn't notice it because they didn't make a bigger thing of it until seasons sort of 3 and 4.
Yeah.
That Ivan is actually one of the old ones.
Yeah, he's like an ancient.
He's come back from South America.
Mm.
But he's actually one of the old ones, which is why he's why all the other vampires, when he says he's going to do something, listen. Because I'd always thought, he's a cool character and he's been around a long time. I hadn't realised he was actually in that group that are officially defined as the old ones, which is like the vampire monarchy almost,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the top guys. I hadn't realised Ivan was one of them until I was rewatching it the other day, and that line just jumped out at me. I was like, oh wow, that's why everybody listens to him. Fair enough. But yeah, Ivan is such a cool character anyway. I absolutely love him.
It starts with them in the pub. I remember this is another one of the scenes that stands out. George and Mitchell having a pint. And that's how we meet Ivan and Daisy, because there's a pint shop. There's two vampires, and he bumps into George. They get separated. George goes up with Daisy, and Daisy basically has her way with him. And
She doesn't in episode 1. She starts to and then stops.
Yeah, it's really
episode 2 when she actually.
It's the hell of opening them to them, though. It's all punk rock, Sid and Nazi style coolness.
Yeah.
And you know how dangerous they are. There's also the Center for the Study of Supernatural Activity, or SIN SSA.
Yeah.
Margaret and the priest.
Reverend Kemp.
Yeah, Reverend Kemp.
Because they're researching. And they're happy for people to die in the course of their research. So it all gets a bit fucked up at the end of the season. It's all kicking off. What do you think of these two? I remember these guys were Dr. Jaggett was a female, if I was correct, and Kemp was the bastard of the two, I think.
Yes, she was doing it for genuinely scientific reasons.
Yeah, just what to know about him. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when it came down to it, she had the opportunity to kill Mitchell and couldn't do it.
Yeah. Reverend Kemp, forgot about that. Oh my
Whereas
God.
Kemp, prior to that, you think that when they show that flashback of what happened to his family when he was a young priest.
Yeah.
It gives you an understanding of why he
does what he does. Yeah.
But then in the last episode, he just turns into a psycho. Like, it goes from being he's doing something justifiable to he's just sick. Like, in order to get rid of Annie, he murders that guy who's a medium. The guy's done nothing wrong.
Yeah.
He just, in order to create a door, he just kills the guy. He then also kills Professor Jaggett at the end of that episode, which is his downfall in the end, actually.
Yeah.
But the point is that he goes from he could justify the decisions he made up until that point.
Yeah.
To just being a murderer who's then.
That's the argument, because he turns into a murderous psychopath.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. The one thing Being Human does very well is its support cast gets basically effed up. If you watch it, people don't get introduced to the season. They ain't making it out this season. It's just a matter of the Toby Whithouse said the one thing he's proud of after 5 years of Being Human is just, he said, I hope people, 9 times out of 10, the characters that you felt with, he's very good at writing story characters you could relate to, but they drop like dominoes if you're associated with them. If you come to the flat, the chances are you're going to be gone. You're gone. The body count of Being Human is massively something I've just realized we're talking to you guys. Obviously, Annie, at the end of the season, Annie gets taken away by the door.
Yeah, she gets an exorcism done on her, by Kemp.
A bit hazy on this bit, so you guys are going to need to fill in the blanks.
Yeah, I'm hazy in the season 2 a bit. Of a rest I can really do, but season 2 I'm kind of.
Well, season 2, going back a bit, is the one that's got you realise the infrastructure that Herrick had in place.
Yeah,
that's all starting to fall apart.
Yeah,
because I think it's episode 2 where you also find out that Mitchell used to have a flat share with somebody else, another vampire.
Oh yeah, he did.
Who's been living with a human for like 25 years.
I remember this. That's
what I'm saying. Once Tom brought it up, I was like, wait a second.
Because George, because they promised George and Nina that they got a cure for werewolf, and something happens. I don't know what it is, but Mitchell gets rejected by George and gets told to fuck off, basically. And George,
3, I think.
Okay, but basically, Mitchell just goes and does the big naughty, which is murdering 20 people in a train in the box tunnel.
That's no. What happened? No. So the murdering all the people in the box tunnel is a retaliation for Kemp and his people blowing up the funeral parlor.
Yes, you're right.
And remember, Ivan jumps on Mitchell and saves him and kills himself in the process, which is why Daisy goes nuts because she wasn't there. So Mitchell and Daisy are the only two who get out of it.
Thank you.
And then Mitchell basically goes nuts. He and Daisy rip that train carriage to shreds, and then you get that brilliant scene, which is in the second to last episode, where Mitchell's gone back to the flat. But he's obviously drunk on blood.
Yeah, like an alcoholic.
You can see the far more vicious version of him. Even when he's not killing, the way he talks to George as if is the same way that other werewolves have spoken to other vampires speak to werewolves. It's disdain for werewolves, and it's disdain for Annie. And basically, you can see how when he was on feeding all the time, how he could be that big bad.
Yeah.
Evil character, which is
Savage.
Mega props to Aidan Turner. He does that so well.
But you still understand, but you really hate him. That's maybe the biggest point where
that's the thing. I don't think you ever hate.
Yeah, you never hate him.
Disappointment. No, at his actions sometimes.
I've never particularly hated me. I understood why the box tunnel 20 thing happened.
But it still
it was a rage retaliation to a situation. It wasn't that he's a bad guy. It was he's completely gone off the rails because everybody he knows has just been murdered.
It's basically the Red Wedding before the Red Wedding. It's like a moment of like, wow. It's not because obviously no characters that we care about get killed in that scene, but it's just
at the time, no characters that we care about.
Yeah, but
because in season 3 they do that nice little retcon with him going to purgatory.
Yeah, but
brilliantly done.
What I'm trying to say is the scene is shocking because now it's Mitchell unleashed. We begin to see the old Mitchell.
Which is why I absolutely love that scene as well.
Just makes you go, oh.
I love it.
And in the middle of all this, I never think this worked out. Annie and Mitchell are kind of having a little romance.
That's season 3.
Yeah, don't touch on that yet.
Yeah, in the background a little bit here and there, but I never believed it was. It never worked out for me. I don't think. Anyway, so basically, they have to leave Bristol. The biggest thing is they lose
at the end of the series. Well, see, here's the thing, and this is the difficulty. The Box Tunnel 20 thing is the reason they have to leave Bristol. In reality, the BBC were doing a massive push to use more regional places for filming rather than keeping it to their main places, which are Cardiff, Bristol, and London and Manchester.
Plus, the BBC is also stationed.
So the BBC were pushing for using other places in Wales, which is why they had a film studio in Barry.
Yes.
So they used it, which is why they moved to Barry.
Around this time,
places on Earth.
Around this time, Doctor Who, Merlin was all being filmed there, so it's a regular place, Torchwood.
Yeah,
so
they were encouraging lots of things to be filmed in those areas. I mean, but the thing is, storyline-wise, you would think if Mitchell wanted to hide, you'd go for a city. If you want to disappear, you don't go to a quiet island.
I don't think they were thinking at the time. Maybe the thinking was, less people. Nobody would fit in a thing. It's even both ways have their goods and bad parts.
But here also is where my frustration lies because I love season 3. Yeah. I think it's a very good season, and Herrick coming back from the dead.
Daisy and someone else. There's another girl.
That woman who Herrick turned. Yeah, I can never remember her name, but
it's
basically his protege.
Yeah, it's such a weird thing because it's snow and he just comes out naked and bloody. It's what a great visual because the camera just goes up.
Yeah, it's awesome. But here's my question: this guy was killed in Bristol. So why, when he is resurrected, does he resurrect himself in Barry?
Because Toby Whitehouse is really hoping that you're looking the other way while he just quickly bullshit something up. Sometimes you
Respawn.
for community.
Yeah, you have to. No, I don't mind suspending my disbelief, but that just made no bloody sense.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. It was weird. I was like, what the hell's going on?
That will happen again in a bit more seasons as well. As they cope with the staff, people leaving, and yeah, it's difficult. It's a bit messy sometimes. So, season 3.
So season 3 is actually the first time that Nina becomes a permanent character. It's the only season where she appears in every episode.
Yeah, she was a semi-regular season 2, and then
semi-regular in season 1 as well.
Yeah, it's like a mixed semi.
But she's now a housemate, and the most important thing is they're now in Wales, and I like this house. I love this house more. I know season 1 and 2 is the iconic Bristol house, but I really love this weird
bed and breakfast
house. I love this style of this house. It's really weird. They all doing the hula with the weird Hawaiian thing. It's tacky, it's nasty, and I love it. Like, oh yes, I love this house, and it's got more Welsh people in it, which I always like.
Yeah, we love Welsh. We love Welsh people. Welsh people.
They've got such a lovely accent.
Yeah, I love the accent. I love it.
It's so bubbly, you know. It adds a bit, you know.
Yeah. Anyway. Adds a bit tighter.
So obviously they moved, and obviously, as you say, so to get Annie back, the first thing they do is try and get Annie back. Mitchell goes into purgatory to go and get Annie back, and this is where
that's a brilliant episode.
What's her name from EastEnders? She's actually quite a good actress outside of EastEnders.
Lacey somebody.
Lacey Turner. Lacey Turner, not related at all to Adrian Turner. The Turner phrase. She turned my head in this scene. No, and I've seen her in. There was an ITV witch show that was really shit. Switch. She was really good at that. It was silly, that show. It was funny though. It was just
You're
really.
totally selling it to me.
Yeah, exactly. I think it does.
It's my guilty pleasure show. But it's really funny. But she's appeared in That Girl, that Iraqi film show. She has appeared in enough stuff outside of EastEnders to make me realise she's
actually a good actress. Yeah,
she's really good. And obviously, we go back through the box. She plays a character who is
no. Don't go too far forward, because the whole point of that episode is making Mitchell relive some of his worst moments.
Exactly, his nightmares. Yeah, exactly.
But the other thing you got to remember is when he meets. Oh God, what was the name of the character? Lacey Turner's character. All she says to him when he asks who she is H12, and he has no idea what that means. Then she starts taking him to rooms, and the first one is the first person he killed, and he remembers how he did it and the fact that he poisoned them beforehand so that it wasn't too hard on them, that kind of thing. Then going into the one from the 1960s, where he's ripped that woman to shreds. And
I think her name was Leah.
Yes, thank you.
There we go. Yeah.
And so he goes into that woman, and he remembers that woman, and he remembers everything about that moment. And then they take him in. She takes him into the last one, which is the box tunnel 20. And as he's walking down, you suddenly realise there's an H12 seat, and she's sitting there. And it's the fact that he didn't actually remember her was was the thing that made it quite dark. Was that he remembered vividly what he'd done to those other people. He had more humanity at those points. Whereas with her, she was just a number.
She was just another body, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And then she says to him, I was kind of offended that you didn't remember me. You remembered the other two so well. And it was a really good way of kind of demonstrating how far Mitchell had gone in a way. This
is where he comes back to reclaim. He's for the rest of season 3, basically a tale.
Actually, he's quite nasty in season 3. He's actually quite dark. He does good things, but he's a far darker character in season 3. He doesn't laugh anywhere near as much.
But because obviously the group turn up to the house. It's all very tense now because of the box tunnel murders.
Well, then you get the 2 new werewolves that show up, which was very well done, I have to say.
Tom
Which
McClare
was
and Tom
Robson,
McClare.
Robson Green, wasn't it?
I thought you said Wilson Gromit. I'm like, that's fantastic. It's
Robson Green.
Tom and it's Tom McClare.
Tom and McNair.
Let me try and get my word in, dude. Michael
Sorry.
Shosha, who is at the time Misfits was showing his sister, who's got very similar face. He's also a very good actor, but you can tell they're related. And they're setting it up. I think they know Russell Tovey is about going to. They've set him because obviously he goes on to replace Russell Tovey later for season 4, but they're obviously father and son. What's the gentleman's name? The other guy, his dad.
McNair.
No, the actor's name, Robson
Green.
He's as well. And we meet them, and there's some crazy Welsh vampires. Who one of them looks like a proper punk.
That's the guy who used to be Dennis Pennis. Yeah.
Thought you looked familiar. You said pelvis, right? Penis. You didn't say penis.
No, Pennis. Dennis Pennis.
No, I can. Yeah. So basically, that was a really. I don't know. It just kind of feels like they have cage matches where werewolves fighting each other, and it's a better.
The usual.
Yeah, and that's another incongruity. Sorry, in that series, they go to that cage fighting thing a few times, where vampires basically make a human fight a werewolf, which is cool. Yeah. I quite like it as an idea, but they do a flashback of how McNair became a werewolf. Basically, he was one of the humans thrown into a cage with a werewolf and won the fight, but got scratched during the process. But the thing that kind of annoyed me about that is, and it was done in order to set up a character thing later in series 3, the vampire who's the MC for that, and remember this cage is in Barry in the 1970s, was Herrick. We know he's been in Bristol. What the hell?
Yeah.
It's just things like that kind of get at me ever so slightly.
Yeah, it's just we just throw stuff like that nowhere.
Even if they just said, like when Herrick finally gets his memory back,
yeah.
If he acknowledged that, oh yeah, I used to live in Barry in the 70s, just a line.
Yeah, just one line. Yeah, just acknowledge it.
It's just a bit weird. He's so low key. If it
all stayed in Bristol, it would make perfect sense.
I mean, like, I think it's Nina, George, one of them tells the other one, and it's just like, you come see this. And there's Herrick. And it's a bit, huh? That's how you're playing it.
Yeah,
but
George, basically, Herrick ends up in the psych ward of the hospital that Nina, George, and Mitchell are all working at. Yeah. And George just happens to see him one day as he's cleaning and goes and tells Nina. Nina then goes and steals him from the psych ward.
Like you do.
Well, no, it's because they're about to take it because he's just been found wandering. They're going to do a news report, and obviously, if they try and film him, game over. So that's why Nina steals him. Her reasons for doing it make perfect sense. But yeah, it's just. Also, it felt like they were trying to shoehorn.
Nina's pregnant as well. We find out.
That's a brilliant piece of storytelling. The fact that the two of them are having real problems as a couple finding time together, but when they turn into werewolves together, rather than fighting each other, they fuck. It's quite clever. I like it.
And they do it together as well. They transform together.
Yeah.
And obviously, Baby Eve will go for the rest of the series because the other housemates will take over. I always like that bit because get into that when jumping ahead, but it's a nice thing that the baby goes the whole way through. Well, I remember the Welsh Zombie Lady. That is one of my all-time favorite episodes.
Oh God, I hate that episode.
I love it. So tortured. It's just so weird, and she's so disgusting.
It's brilliant, but it's because she's so disgusting. It's how well they've done the makeup on her and things like that. It's just like her finger suddenly coming off, and I don't know.
It just messes you up, man. Oh, God, you.
I mean, how does she? I don't remember how we're introduced to her.
It's just a one-off episode. She basically just walks into their into their lives.
Annie finds her, doesn't she? I think it's Annie is the one that she meets first, if I remember correctly.
Possibly, yeah.
I think it was, yeah.
Is it in a nightclub?
Yes. No, in the house first, and then they go night together. They just build the whole way through, and you go, Herrick, just that bit, episode 5. It's brilliant because you know he's going to get his memory back. It's a case of what happens when he does. He stabs, and you think Nina's dead.
Yeah, you think the full bit. You're like, what the fuck is going on?
And I think, if I'm correct, vampires are at threat because Mitchell gets arrested for the Box Tunnel murders, and you end up there's a real. They begin to realize that he's not being recorded, and they're beginning to realize vampires are real, and there's that threat that it might get exposed.
Yeah,
all kicking off. So this is escalation now.
Yeah,
well, the reason that he might get exposed is because of Nina.
Yeah, because she decides, because she's sickened by his act.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you remember, there was a character shows up in season 3. It's like a fat version of Mitchell. He's trying to be Mitchell, and he's got that. He's got the scrapbook.
Yeah,
the Box Tunnel 20 stuff.
Fan. He's trying to be his fan. He's human, isn't he? And he wants Mitchell to turn into a vampire so he could be like him.
No, he is a vampire.
Oh, but he wants Mitchell to teach him how to do that.
He basically just wants to hang out with Mitchell.
Yeah, he's just a fanboy. That's what he was.
Yeah, I remember.
But he's also blackmailing Mitchell because he knows that Mitchell is the Box Tunnel 20 murderer, basically. And it's through him that Nina gets some indication of it. I can't remember whether he says something or what, or she might even see the scrapbook, possibly. Yeah. I can't remember how it happens, but she then kind of puts 2 and 2 together, and I've got that vivid memory of her sitting there saying, "We ran."
Yeah.
And that's her just sitting, and she's thinking to herself, "We ran away from Bristol. Mitchell convinced us to run away from Bristol. This must be why." And then she phones up the anonymous tip line and gives them Mitchell's name, which is why it all starts unraveling. It's also one of the reasons that I hate Nina as a character.
Yeah, she is something else, man. Nina.
It's a really big moment. It's a really big.
It's also an incredibly stupid moment.
But this is the thing about this show. There's no characters will make decisions like that, and it's a brave show that isn't. They're not cookie cutter characters.
Yeah, but the thing that got me about that. Sorry, I'm cutting you off. I apologise. But the thing about that, like you said, they're not cookie cutter characters. But she, for the 2 previous seasons, has gone on and on at George about discussing things before doing it. Yeah. And then with one of the biggest decisions you can ever make, she speaks to no one and tears their world down in one move.
Shopping someone to the police that you know is one of the biggest decisions you're ever going to make in your life. But
also the fact that she must also know that he can't be arrested because then the whole world of will come down. She's bringing hell on herself and her baby.
Yeah.
Sorry, but yeah.
Thinking about that now, and it's pretty bad. But I do find one of my favourite scenes from season 3 is, at least for this season, Annie still has a purpose to be here, and that's the romance with Mitchell, which is quite touching. One of my favourites is I think she tries to give him a hand job, and he can't feel anything. He's in a couch. She's on a couch. And they try and make it work, and they kiss. And it's just really unique. A ghost and a vampire trying to fall in love. I thought it was kind of cool. They didn't really go far enough of it for me, but it felt real, at least.
No, I don't think it could go too far, to be fair, because of
the hand job is very British joke.
Yeah.
I love it. But I think 4th season, she stayed. The 4th season, but we'll get into that. That's where I think Annie should have gone early, because that's too far for me.
I'm going to disagree with you, but we'll get to that.
Oh, okay. I still think she's a wet fart of a character, but okay.
Oh, she
Um,
is.
but I do love the finale because it's really. I don't cry normally at TV. I would put TV that I cry at the very tippity top of all time greatness. And I just blubbering when George is the one to stake Mitchell.
Yeah.
It's fantastic television. It really is. It's a high quality series. And I do cry.
The only criticism I have of the end of that series, and you're right, it is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
What they do with George taking out, but they already knew by that point that Sinead Keenan wasn't coming back.
This is a problem.
So why didn't they give us something?
With her, yeah, exactly.
I mean, I get the idea that you want one of the main characters dying off to be a huge thing, and so you don't want too many of them in one episode. I get that.
Yeah.
But seasons with these guys, there's been no changes in 3 seasons. It's a big moment.
Yeah, but they know that Nina's not coming back, so why don't they bring forward her having the baby?
Yeah.
I mean, even if it was me, have something about her dying in childbirth or something.
Yeah, make it more dramatic. Yeah, exactly. You make it the way of going out in the dramatic.
Show it. Make George completely all over the place emotionally at the end of season 3.
Yeah, so that when
they lead into it.
All over the place emotionally.
Yeah,
it makes perfect sense.
You have a problem because Russell Tovey told Toby Whithouse he wanted to leave as well. So this is between season 3 and 4. And obviously, the last line is to the vampire police officer, "You've got a war in your hands." And then Russell Tovey turns around and says, "I think we're not if we have anything to say about it." Which obviously, Nina's standing there next to him, and as we know, season 4, Russell Tovey said he would do 1 episode to hand it over to Tom, and then he was going to leave. And it's like a wet fart of a promise because it never goes through with those characters. Because, like you say, Nina is just killed off screen.
Nina's killed off screen, which just is
sucked.
Yeah, it was rubbish.
Cheap. It's horrible. Effing cheap.
You either have her dying to protect George or dying giving birth to their child.
Yeah, one of the two.
Best ways that you can do it for her.
Season 4 is opening in a weird place now because it has to rush. Because Tom's already been established, so thankfully you have that.
Yeah, that's one of the good things about 3, is because Russell Tovey said to Thingy at the beginning of season 3 he didn't think he'd do another series.
Yeah.
And that's why they kind of developed bringing in the young werewolves. Because it then gave them an option for a character that people had already identified with.
Toby Whithouse has said I should never have written that last line though, because he said I think I overpromised on fans with the knowledge that him, the other girl, Nina, and Russell were all leaving. So he's like, I should have done that because he says my bad.
But at least he acknowledges that he screwed it up.
Yeah, at least he said it,
Because season 4 and 5, unlike Misfits, I don't think it falls off a cliff. I think it's still very, very strong.
Season 4 and 5 are actually bloody good. I mean,
I
didn't enjoy them as much, but I think it was because I was trying to suspend the disbelief of, oh, look, there's a different vampire. Oh, look, there's a different werewolf.
It's not like Misfits where it kind of was really weird how they did.
Misfits just as soon as what's his name's got left the show, I was done with that show. I'm the Welsh one.
Rudy kept it. The other actors around him were just not funny. The characters weren't as captivating as the original core cast. I mean, Rudy, Joseph Gilligan, and that is amazing. But like, very smart. They got very good writing to keep going, and they were very careful to bed them in. So. George, obviously, George dies in episode 1. The baby is called Eve, of him and Nina. And obviously, thankfully, you got Tom and Annie to look after the baby. So that sets it up for the rest of the run because the baby stays. It's called Holyoke Heights, is the name of the house, by the way. Love that name. And we get introduced to, they meet season 4 early on, another trio. Leo, Hal, who's a ghost, and Leo's a werewolf, who's a very old white black man, if I remember, and Hal, a vampire.
Yep.
There's how, if I remember, for Leo's transformations, because he's quite old, so his transformations are really hurting.
Killing him.
In his
Yeah, they're
age,
killing him.
so they're looking, and I think Pearl was like a flapper, very old-fashioned style clothing from the 30s.
Yeah. He's kind of stuck in the 1960s, yeah.
Him and Pearl had a relationship. And obviously, this is the big thing because this affects Annie later because she finally moves on. But Pearl decides to pass on with
How? With Leo.
They're in a relationship. So this obviously inspires Annie to finally make that step at the end of season 4.
Yeah.
So she knows it's her time. So that's very important. And Hal decides to stay to be the new vampire. And him and Tom, they don't like each other. It is beautiful. They're bitching at each other because Hal is a very by the numbers guy. And he's
I think he has to be a by the numbers guy because you discover at some point in the series that he is actually one of the old ones.
Yeah, the older ones, yeah.
So he is actually he has to be like OCD about things because it's how he doesn't give in to his own temptations.
Yeah. Set in his ways.
Because you see it, because the baby Eve is now a hot topic. She's a big
the war child.
Yeah, war child, the big Mac that all the vampires want to come and knock on the door for, the old ones. And obviously, during his run, at first, you always question if Hal is going to just kill the baby when he's left on his own with her.
Well,
and there's another
that's the whole point.
Yeah, Cutler, the lawyer.
If you remember from the first episode, the whole thing is that the baby born of werewolves is the war child who's supposed to beat the vampires.
Oh yeah,
it actually turns out because they go 25 years into the future when the vampires have won, basically, and it's Eve discovering that actually the way that she can defeat them is by dying. If you remember.
Yeah, that prophecy. Yeah.
The prophecy. So the reason she then goes back in time and gets Hal and Leo and the ghost to go to Barry.
Yeah.
She's doing it because she thinks the second that Hal sees the war child, he'll kill her because he's one of the old ones.
Yeah.
And he'll understand the importance because the vampires don't know about the prophecy. What she doesn't realize is the vampires actually do know the prophecy. So they're gonna treat Eve with kid gloves if they ever find out.
Yeah.
Hal doesn't, but the other old ones do, because our old friend Mr. Gattis appears as the chief of the old ones, who knows exactly what the prophecy says, because he makes sure that Eve gets away a couple of times.
His name is Cutler.
What's that?
Nick Gatiss plays a lawyer called Nick Cutler. He was obviously Hal created him in the 50s.
No. But Mark Gatiss comes back as the leader of the old ones, doesn't he?
Yes. I'm trying to get the explanation out for people.
Oh, sorry.
That's right, man. His plan obviously is to expose werewolves as part of a larger plan that involves the vampires taking over Earth. So he's hoping to, while everyone's distracted with the werewolves, by exposing werewolves as real to the public, vampires can sneakily take over humanity. Because obviously he's trying to get Hal to go and drink blood, the whole way through. He's always poking him with a stick. It's like he's like trying to get trying to get someone that's in rehab to have another drink. Because Hal's, like we said earlier, it's like an alcoholic thing.
Yeah.
And there's Alex, because we first meet Alex. She's eventually, like in season 3 with Tom, she is being set up because, again, the actress playing Annie said that she wanted to leave at season 4. So obviously Alex is first a human when we meet her. She and Hal are dating.
Yeah.
And she gets turned by one of Cutler's men after a really bad date. And she's Scottish. She's lovely. I really fancied her when I watched this show.
Yeah.
Sorry. Wife's not here, I think. No, she's not here. Good.
Yeah, go on.
I think you're forgetting a couple of little points.
Go on.
The guy who I can never remember, the guy who's wanting to do the media stuff, he was turned by Hal in the 50s or 60s, like you said.
Oh, yeah.
But remember that he couldn't give up. He was like a proper wuss of a character initially as a vampire. He was always talking about how he missed his wife and that kind of stuff. And Hal invites him for a drink in a bar. And he gives him a glass of blood. And the guy drinks it, and then it turns out that Hal had murdered his wife and drained her and just given her his blood. And that's what this guy does to Alex, to Hal.
Yeah.
In the modern day. He invites him for a drink, gives him a glass of wine, and it turns out that it was Alex's blood after Hal had nearly attacked her and kind of and managed to restrain himself.
Yeah.
Which is why it was a terrible date. And then, so it was a nice kind of turnabout's fair play type thing. And this guy doing the exact same thing, and that's how Alex ends up dead.
Yes, because Cutler's really a nasty piece of shit, really, and Mark Gatiss is amazing. I mean, he reveals Alex's dead body to Val. How? Because Hal murdered his wife in the 50s. So it's they just nasty to each other. You know, there's a big old grudge going on here.
But beautifully done.
Yeah, beautifully done because it's Mark bloody Gatiss. And Annie becomes basically, they were really good with Annie. They always found something new for her. She's basically the mother of the baby.
Yeah.
She, obviously, the finale we get to, because that all goes out the window in spectacular fashion. There's that whole sense of impending. This is where the show's been really good at always containing it. It doesn't go for massive, big patch battles. It's just small important clogs moving around, you know, for stuff to happen. And I think, like, at this point, I still think the transition was a smooth one. Some people have moaned at how he's too much of a Mitchell clone. Oh, here we go, blood addiction.
I don't think he is a Mitchell
I
clone.
don't think so.
No, he's not. He's not.
He's got this style of
far more evil than Mitchell.
Arranging pencils and stuff in an OCD way to keep his bloodlust low.
He's almost like a mixture of George and Mitchell. He uses OCD to keep his bloodlust in check.
Yes.
Like George did in the first couple of series was properly OCD.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's taken the best bits of George's character and the best bits of Mitchell's and created this halfway thing.
I love him. I think he's amazing. I think he's one of the.
But for me, he seems far more dangerous than Mitchell.
Oh yeah.
No, way more.
The way he plays it, you kind of think under the surface, this guy is unbelievable. He's been doing this for 250 years.
He's much older than Mitchell.
What's that?
He's much older than Mitchell is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when he's fallen off the wagon, he's been. He's been. Yeah. But then you get to see that in a flashback of what he was like before he moved in with Leo and the ghost. And he's just it's beautiful. His whole body movement, everything is completely different. But it's the same guy, but you can just see this is what this guy is like when he's being himself and not restraining those things. And then you see that again. No, it's in season 5. We'll get to it. There's a musical number when Hal loses it and kills everybody in that pub.
Yeah, it's fucking awful.
Is it to Putting on the Ritz? I can't remember.
It's
something like that. But it's a whole musical number with dead bodies.
It's amazing.
It's absolutely brilliant.
I think this is why, because they were very good at the casting. This is where they were in control. I think that they knew. I don't know about Misfits, what happened there, but we might come to it one day. But I know that the actors always gave them enough time to where they tried to make it as seamless as possible, except for Nina. I think.
No. She told them at the same time that she told them at the beginning of season 3 she wouldn't do another series. They just didn't.
They could have done a better job. They could have done a better job of seeing her off them. The childbirth idea.
Maybe they thought that they'd get her to do what Russell Tovey did, and she'd come for one episode.
Yeah, that's what they thought. Before he
They
comes back
could have
from
at least done the childbirth scene. You know, that's an unfortunate thing. But, I mean, it all comes to a head at the end of the season with, I like to say, a warehouse. And basically,
Yep.
to save the world, Amy blows up the baby and the old ones. If you think about it, it's really hilarious. She finishes her unfinished business and passes over because her powers at this point are getting better and better and better.
Yeah, she seems to have ups and downs with that. Sometimes she's incredibly powerful, and sometimes she's just useless.
It feels like what the plot needs her to do, she does.
Yeah.
But basically, they just blow the baby up. And I love the thought of they just killed a child on television with a massive explosion. Really good. And I love I love the three. I'm not being rude to Annie. There were moments where George and Annie were very high-pitched moany, crying a lot. And I'm not, they're fantastic characters, don't get me wrong. But in the time that we have Alex and Tom, they don't do that much. They're like a strong threesome. Hal cries a bit, but that's okay. He's a vampire. He has mood swings. He's allowed to. But I just think they're a bit more organized.
Yeah, a bit more structured.
What do you guys think of Hal and Alex's relationship? Did you believe in it?
It was all right. It was all right. A bit rocky at times, but it was all right. It was solid. It was solid. You know what I'm saying? It was solid. I liked it. It was all right. It was okay. It wasn't a great, but it was all right.
Okay.
He's in the background,
That's not me. That's Tom. I don't know.
Sorry, I was distracted. What's up?
Tom, can you get children out the cupboard, bruv? Like, seriously. I know children are annoying sometimes, bruv, but don't lock them in the cupboard and let them suffocate.
I thought Tom turned to Mitchell for a second. What's going on?
Yeah, maybe Tom's got like a dead body in the background.
Yeah.
How did we get to that?
I don't know.
I'm Ben. That's a catchphrase. We're going to get t-shirts on there. I'm Ben. That's why.
That could just be your t-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just Ben.
I'm Ben. That's all.
Sorry, I'm Ben.
Sorry, I'm Ben.
Not sorry, I'm Ben. It's got me through most of my life. People just tend to do quite well with it. Once they know, okay, you just randomly go off and I will park a conversation, go around the houses and come back to the point. People tend to keep up quite well. Once you get used to it, I think people can keep up. Anyway, I've had no. Anyway, not about me. Season 5 was the last.
Oh yeah, you didn't tell Tom about what do you think about Hal and Alex?
Yeah, sorry, go for it, guys. I'm gonna sit back on this one.
Go, Tom.
What, the relationship between Hal and Alex?
Yeah. What do you think about it?
I like it because it gave a different dynamic to the ghost and vampire thing. Because when season 1 started, those characters were already established.
Yeah.
In terms of they were 3 people living together. You see this person becoming a ghost, and it partly being Hal's fault, not directly because Hal's being punished for something he did 50 years earlier.
Yeah.
But the relationship is brilliant because they are like, there's obviously a sexual attraction there, even though she's now a ghost and he's a vampire. but she's obviously got massive resentment about the fact she's been killed. And it's just
dynamic.
And she doesn't.
It works as a dysfunctional relationship because it's something that he can't change, that she hates him for, that wasn't really his fault. He's understandably gets frustrated when she has a go at him about these things because there wasn't actually a huge amount he could do about it.
Yeah.
But the woman who plays Alex is fantastic.
What's her name? Hold on. Tom, you got such a big brain up in your head, bruv. Kate Bracken. She's appeared in quite a lot of stuff, actually. I keep seeing her. She's one of those actors that I don't. She just find out because
No, she's been in Misfits and that.
yeah, Misfits. Yeah, that was weird. She appeared for 3 episodes. It was like around the time because Being Human and Misfits kind of started in the same year and ended in the same year. So it always, it's like one of them finished, the other one would be on, and then they just seemed to be on at the same time. Yeah, she was in 3 episodes of Misfits. And that's it. She's disappeared at the face of the earth since.
It's mostly just in the English shows, like here and there. That's about it. Nothing much.
Doctors, Hobie City.
Basically, Doctors and Hobie City is equivalent of if you ever went to the pantomime years ago. Every single actor in their credits had the bill.
Yeah, exactly.
So Doctors and Hobie City and Casualty are basically the bill of today.
Yeah.
Every actor has them somewhere on their CV.
Yeah, if you're a top English actor, you have to be on those shows. You've got to be on those shows first.
I remember season 5. Oh yeah, so anyway, I feel like the relationship between Tom and Hal is really like, and even with Alex, like Tom's always like the kid brother, like Alex is his sister, Hal's the moody brother. I love that dramatic between the three. It's just it carries the rest of season 5, and like legitly, I love it just as much.
Season 5 is interesting.
Season 5 is amazing because they got 2 big actors, but I love just how Alex would just tease him regularly and how just there's always that, and like they're just kind of like you can tell that Hal at first is irritated, like how the fuck did I end up in this situation?
It's like what the
hell? But he wins me over in the end. The final season, which is season 5. I remember this one because this is around the time. This is around spring 2013. This is for me. I watched the last episode of this before I went to Japan for the first time, the day before. I just remember thinking, "Fuck, that's it. It's over." Because you knew they announced at the start of season 5 it's the last one.
Yeah.
And it hit me because it's like when you get a show that you know is ending, it's a strange feeling of, well, you better make these last 6 episodes bloody good then. It puts a lot of pressure on it, I think, because you know that you're running out of episodes to enjoy it. And obviously now it's been moved to a hotel. We've got the new cast all locked in. It is a hotel, a bread and breakfast, actually.
Well, they're still living in the B&B that they've been in for the previous.
But they take a job at Barry Grand Hotel. Thank you.
Yeah, they're working at that hotel.
Working, yeah.
You've been amazing. We're going to get no comments now of people telling us that we're wrong. Thank you for correcting us. Save so much trouble. Barry Grand Hotel. Mr. Brooke, who's a government agent.
Yeah.
He is Captain Hatch. Philip Davis, who we find out later is quite amazing. It went all in on season 5. It got the ultimate bad guy in.
It did, and it was brilliant.
Fucking amazing. What can I say about Phil Davis? I mean, he's another one like Jason Watkins who's got just bloody hell. Whitechapel.
Amazing CV, but not many people actually know who he is. But they won't recognise the name, but they'll recognise the face.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of them ones.
And I hope he's not listening to this, but Phil Davis looks like a panty sniffer. He's got a face of creepy old.
Oh, damn! What the heck?
Right, thank you for the defamation suit we've just received.
Jeez!
He looks like a crackhead panty sniffer. And I love him. He's always playing on Hinge Cat. In life, we're going away screaming. But he's a great actor. I'm sure your parents couldn't help you how you ended up looking like, mate. I'm sorry. So he's the devil, or a vessel for the devil, and he's just fantastic. He's just a grumpy shit.
Yeah. But imagine if you were the devil and you'd been stuck in the same body for, like, what, 80 years or something by this point.
Yeah.
You would be quite a grumpy shit, wouldn't you?
You would be like, what's going to change? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe we should explain that basically there was a pact that Hal was involved in 100 years earlier, or maybe, I can't remember, 50, 60 years earlier, where he and the werewolves got together and they'd worked out that they could trap the devil if they used the blood of a werewolf, blood of a vampire mixed together. But it had to be like the leaders of the vampires and the leaders of the werewolves.
Yeah.
Or two that were consentingly willing to do it and knew what they were doing. And then they could put it into the body of somebody else, and then they could kill the devil by killing that body. And they managed to go through the first part of the ritual, but because Hal was a devious shit, he hadn't used his own blood, whereas the werewolf leader had. And it meant that the devil merely got trapped in the same body, and the guy managed to escape, and then ended up in Barry at the Hotel Grand or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Barry.
Because that's what the devil would automatically
Barry, man.
do.
No, don't do that, man. Stop doing that right now. Sorry.
That's what the devil would automatically do. He'd go to a hotel in Wales.
Because if it's good for Gavin and Stacey, start the
Oh,
Welsh accent.
jeez.
Sorry. I love doing Welsh accents. I'm not good at them, but I just love a Welsh accent. Anyway, so because they're quite cheeky here, quite naughty. What they did, because there's not much to talk about during the season. It's the same. How it's
dynamic.
Yeah, same dynamic, but it's still good. There is one episode that I really like because I'm a fan of the actress. What is it? Episode 1?
Which one?
There is a girl that Tom falls in love with. It's a girl that Mr. Rook, who is the government advisor for things. We find her. Starts the episode off where he finds her under a tunnel after being kidnapped by vampires, and she brings him up. He brings her up, and
yeah.
basically, it's the chick from Skins. It's Catherine Prescott. I've always just admired her acting. It's so good. She's not really done much since, unfortunately, but her and Tom have a very nice romance for an episode. I kind of, but like everyone else in Being Human, she's fucking dead by the end of it. Because why did we swear in? I'm turning into a vampire now.
So you turn to a villain now.
But the naughty thing they do, because they defeat the devil, I can't remember how. They all turn into humans.
They do the blood ritual that they should have done 100 years earlier.
Yeah, they should have done before, yeah.
And because apparently supernatural stuff is a curse because of the devil's power.
Yes.
I think it's a load of... It makes sense because obviously werewolves and vampires and ghosts and evil. Very clever. They tied it into the devil. So they granted it. And you think that they've won the day. Now, this is the problem because the broadcast ends with them sitting down watching television. They're talking to Alex. How will you approach your family because now you're alive again?
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is what pisses me off. On the exclusive scene on the DVD box set, the ending is shown that actually the devil won because it's a false reality. It didn't happen.
What? I've never seen that.
Oh, is it? Oh, snap.
Yeah. I remember watching this on the DVD and being quite pissed off because they realise that something's wrong and they get up and they push to save the world one more time. But, right, because the camera focuses on the last shot, on the last broadcast episode, the last shot is they zoom in on something that the devil made. And that is your hint that everything is not okay. And on the DVD, this is what really pisses me off. They did it to sell DVDs.
No, but that's not the ending that they went with.
No.
An alternative ending.
It's alternative. It's an alternative ending.
No. Toby Whitehouse has gone on record as saying it is the real ending. It's a exclusive scene. It's not an alternative ending. It is the proper ending to season 5. You find out that the devil wasn't defeated and that they're going to have to go back and do it again. In Toby Whitehouse's own words, it is the real ending of season 5. And that's what pisses me off.
I've never seen that anywhere.
It's on YouTube.
No, but I've never seen Toby Whithouse say that anywhere.
I heard it on a podcast years ago.
Hmm.
I gotta check it out. Yeah, I gotta check it out. I don't know. I gotta check it out.
But the thing is, the series still kind of focuses on a piece of paper on the mantle to say, is it real? So there's always that doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always going to be that kind of doubt's the devil, isn't it? Yeah.
He says on the exclusive scene, oh, yeah. We lost.
Yeah. You can never truly get rid of the devil when you think about it.
Yeah, actually done that. That is like a proper ballsy fucking ending. They lose. That's kind of amazing ending. That should have been the proper ending. Put that on the broadcast.
Yeah, if they put that on the broadcast, you know what? I wouldn't have liked it, but I thought, well,
it would make sense.
Yeah, that's ballsy, and I respect it.
They call it an exclusive scene because it follows on from it, and it is the true ending. But I feel like it is
the true ending is what was broadcast.
Yeah, but they're trying to aim it, saying it's the true ending. But I think Tom's right. It's a deleted scene.
It's deleted. It's deleted.
It's naughty though because they did it to sell a DVD. And I'm really not happy about that.
I can't believe I haven't seen that. I've got season 5 on DVD. How have I ever missed that?
It's the exclusive scene and the box set.
I don't remember seeing it, but I must have done at some point.
But they basically say it's a different end. It's the same end. It's another ending. It's a reason for you to buy the box set. And again, I'm sorry that we did that. The BBC decided to do that. I wasn't happy about that. So that's the second of his life.
Oh my gosh, the ending was crazy. That was a great ending to Devil, bro. I got after the Devil. That's so random.
But because of Russell Tovey's ass all the time during the whole season, I'm not fazed by male nudity now. Because I tell you what, Tovey, motherfucker got it out all the time. And you just get used to it. It numbs you after a while. You're just like, okay.
Oh, there's naked Russell Tovey. What a surprise.
Yeah, it's like, whatever. Just what about it?
Like. I'm sexually confident to say he's got a nice ass. There we go. Anyway. Basically, the whole 5 seasons consistently good. And there were times where I thought that they might lose it before a season started, but they never did.
A couple of times I thought they ever so slightly jumped the shark, but
George's wasn't dead. I'm coming back to George's dad, actually. That was such a bollock of an episode. I don't know what they were going for. George's dad isn't dead. He faked his death. There's no consequences. I don't understand.
No. The thing I like about that is, the one thing I did like about that episode is obviously George thinks that his dad's dead.
Yeah.
His dad knows that he's not dead, so it confirms to him that his son's just mental. So you got, and that's what I like about that episode. Is it just George tells him the truth, but because he's been told by his dad, oh yeah, by the way, you're dead, when his dad knows he's actually not, he just thinks he's a complete loony. And I quite like that. Also, out of interest, why in God's name does his dad get buried near Barry?
The hell that out. I do not know.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe someone can tell me that actually he just sees it in the paper and goes to wherever it is. But I don't remember the episode well enough to say that that's what happened. So I have to assume that it happened somewhere near Barry.
It's convenience plot's sake again, isn't it? Really.
He definitely sees his dad's obituary in the paper.
Yeah, he sees the paper. Yeah.
I think that was a local paper, if memory serves. So... So yeah, it's a bit convenient that everything in their lives suddenly happened in Barry.
Oh my god! Yeah, everything just happens there.
Just suddenly, Barry was the center of the universe. Everything that had ever happened to them ever before.
That's what I loved about the show. Everyone just went there. Just it's like a nexus for villains and evil people.
Actually, go back. There was two characters that I want to mention.
Hold on, I've got a joke. Hold on. Most people would say that about Wales. But ding ding ding. Anyway, please Tom.
Tova.
Sorry. But do you remember in season 4 there was a character of a young teenage vampire who'd been like a teenager for 47 years?
Oh, I know. It's the actor. The actor's really good. Oh, Adam.
That's the name of the character.
Yes, but he's a great character because the actor, he's just a moody. He's brilliant. I love him. I love him so much because like the actor has gone on to be in so many good roles. He just everywhere. He's really good.
But he's really good in that as that character.
And
he then reappears in season 5.
Yes, he does.
With his girlfriend, who's actually a succubus.
I love that.
And I love the fact they introduced that kind of character as well.
Damn, I forgot about him. Oh my days. He was like one favorite character as well.
I love the greaser that Annie meets. What's his season 1. He's brilliant. There's like technically a little love story going on there.
Oh, Gilbert.
Yeah, I love him. I love that. I love this Welsh zombie girl. I know you don't like it, Tom, but I really just remember thinking, great, we are definitely not in Bristol anymore, are we? I've expected John Barrowman and Torchwood to turn up around the corner.
It was a great episode, don't get me wrong. Just they did such a good job with her decaying throughout the episode. And also that actress did such a good job of being obnoxious that I just don't like that. I don't like to watch that episode. It's not that it wasn't brilliant, because it was perfectly written, it was really well acted, but it's because of that I hate that episode. And I can appreciate it's because it's done so well.
What about Owen? I mean, we touched on Owen. Sorry, I've got hiccups. Just keep going.
All right, so here's a question for you. Who is the big bad of each series? Who's like the major bad guy of each series?
Howard Mitchell every time. It's the vampire in the house.
No, they're the main character. But
it's like the main villains.
You, me, Tom.
No, you know what I mean? Because you'd probably say that Herrick is supposed to be the main villain of season 1, but for me, the character who I hate the most is Owen.
Yeah.
He's the main villain in season 1 for sure. He is the main.
They do such good bad guys here. Like, you want them to die, and that's great writing. Every time the bad guy is just a bastard. There's not a weak one.
So who is it in season 2?
Season 2.
Professor Jaggett and Kemp?
Yes, but again,
just Kemp?
No, it's Jaggett. It's Kemp. Yeah, Kemp. It's Kemp. I'm Mitchell. Because Mitchell does a big naughty.
Yeah, but that doesn't make him a bad guy. You understand his character. He has compulsion. There's a difference.
Yeah, I wouldn't say Mitchell. I think Mitchell's a villain, doesn't he?
He's a villain because he's a vampire, but...
Yeah, but not like a main big bad.
Yeah. Okay, so season
3 is Herrick.
Well, is it? Because he doesn't appear until halfway through the season.
But he's the big bad.
See, that's the one. I don't think season 3 has a proper big bad.
No, season 3 is kind of like the Wild West.
It's almost like the worst person in season 3 is actually is actually Mitchell and the policewoman.
Yeah, that's it.
Good point. Season 4 is definitely Cutler. Mark Gatiss they did a good job there.
Yeah. And season 5, well, it's definitely the devil.
Yeah.
Big Billy bollocks himself, the devil. I love saying that. I don't say the devil, I say the devil.
Fair enough.
Oh, I agree. Exactly.
I remember in my friends, because we used to watch it, and he just turned around and said, "You know what? I review people bad like a devil when people play the devil. And I was like, "What's that?" He said, "If I say what I can't, that means fantastic." I was like, "Yeah." He turned around and went, "What I can't." Paul Davis. What a performance! Just that properly great, like fantastic. Oh mate. So you do you think it's one of the unappreciated classics of British television? To wrap it up.
I think it's definitely been one of the best of the new millennium.
Yeah, modern day TV. Yeah.
This is around the time of Merlin and Misfits trying to be the new Doctor Who.
Merlin was not terrible, but it just ignored Arthurian legends. That's
we're not talking about Merlin ever on this podcast.
That is amazing. What are you talking about? Oh, this Merlin like that.
What?
It's amazing.
It's disqualified unless you want to rewatch it and talk to me about it. I will take a sleep next week if you want to.
Oh wow!
I'd like to point out that you brought Merlin up.
Exactly, you're the one who brought it up. See, so he obviously does like some of it. You know?
But I've watched it again recently. It ain't. Oh, it's cringe. It's cringe. It's just full of cringe. I mean, the one thing for me that I looking back on it now, that I at the time didn't think about it. It's impactful. People around them die, but it gets silly after a while because some of these characters could have really come back for the finale. There's not ever. It would have been nice to have some callbacks because, like Adam coming back in season 5, it's a nice little comeback. It's very rare that Being Human has a character.
Little cameos, yeah.
But like you said, that's because they killed them all.
They're all dead.
Sometimes they go too far with it. There should be some survivors because you could tell more interesting stories. Because you have to keep establishing new characters every week. It's difficult. It's a Doctor Who problem sometimes.
That's 3.
Yeah, that's another one.
Started this man.
You should put a pound every time I say Doctor Who, put a pound in the jar, you know?
I just like to point out to the person that is going to make the complaint. Tom started it.
Tom started it.
So I think we can call it a wrap then. So that was a good podcast. It's nearly 2 hours. And I'm sure now everyone's had enough of us. So, yeah, 2 hours nearly, and I got to go see if my wife still exists. So next week will be another podcast back to normal, and we will see you then. So, guys, say goodbye.
Hey, take care, guys. Everyone stay safe out there. Have a great week.
See you later, guys.
Lovely. Please share and subscribe, and please send us any messages that you want us to read out on the podcast. And please tell your friends if you enjoyed the podcast and spread it. Good night, guys. Bye.
Bye.